Welcome everybody to the second webinar, which will be on the preparation phase of how you're going to capitalize on your experience. And as a brief recap, we are going to go to the next slide. And it's a little reminder. When you prepare, you have to focus in the first step of what for. Why do you want to capitalize on something? What is the reason? Who for? Who will be benefiting from this exercise? And then more precisely, what would it be about? You can think that as a participatory process to also do it with other people, because this way you get the other's perspective, and you decided when to do it. And actually, when is more or less now, because we are starting the process. And how you can also then have a longer planning. So in the next slide, we are going to have this little recap, my objective, my audience, my focus, with whom I want to do it. And then for your purpose, your objective, you will see that either you want to share and disseminate what you have been experiencing, or you want to advocate, or you want to improve the efficiency of your experience, or you want to generate change. And this could be so that others can adapt it, or you want to make changes and do some also adaptation, or you want to actually scale it up. And in the next slide, we are just refreshing what we suggested in the job aid about try to do this systematically. So this is what we are going to do today. We are going to break out what is the reason for which you want to capitalize an experience.
Related to the digitalization, currently in Tajikistan, mainly in agrarian sector, we have not any document, I mean strategic document or national document in Tajikistan. That's why we would like to prepare program or roadmap on digitalization of agriculture in Tajikistan.
Okay, and is there a particular, because that's a good reason, it's because you want to document it and to have the roadmap. But of course, this is a long exercise, and to do experience capitalization and to do what we want to do, we have to think about something that is, so do you know already what exists in Tajikistan that would be interesting to be documented? And then you have to know, and we can also think about for whom do you want to capitalize? Is it for the government? Is it for FAO? Is it for farmers? So what would be your answer?
It will be focused for all type of stakeholders. First, farmers. Second, government. Third is Development Coordination Council. We can include other international organization, UN organization, etc. Because if you haven't, for example, one common document, their lack of coordination, and you cannot to see your sustainability of the project. And therefore, from this exercise will benefit all type of stakeholders.
Okay, so you want to capitalize on what already exists in Tajikistan regarding digital agriculture.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so what is the, and of course, this is a very large town.
Large. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So now it's good that we have the overall overview. And let's see, um, is there a specific sector where you think that digitalization is already working well in Tajikistan? Do you have good examples?
Yeah.
And
Uh,
what is it?
First one is market information.
Okay, so market information. So what is the case that we want to describe in the analysis? What it could be? It could be market information. Oh, and this is done with a specific NGO or private sector or government.
Uh, it could be government and NGO.
Okay, so what will be interesting is that for this exercise, we are selecting the market information and we are going to analyze it. And as there are several that exist, we will analyze it from the government point of view and the NGO point of view. And now, if we look at the other question, what is this case special, relevant, or interesting? Why is it interesting to capitalize on this market information?
Uh, because I I I will have access uh, to purchase or to find address of the um, agriculture inputs and production, and additionally uh, I can find the source where I can purchase, for example, uh, the, for example, onion or seeds of onion or other things. Uh, uh, but it will be for me very best information because uh, the seeds which available in the market, it could not be, for example, in local market, uh, it could not to consider many specification which I would like to have it. That's why uh, there is could be more certified seeds, for example, and I can have, for example, if I have uh, 10 metric ton of watermelon, I will see the price and I can move my truck or I can move my truck to that area which the price is more uh, higher than others. That's why it gives very good results and not only selling of the ready products. It could be, I would say, maybe services. For example, construction of the greenhouse. Yeah, one company is doing, for example, 1 square meter of greenhouse, 15 USD, and another is doing for 10 USD. That's why uh, 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 it's open to the farmer, the source, and choice.
And Ibrahim, this what exists already at the moment from the government side and from the NGO sector side, were you able to explore these as well?
Uh, this
Have you
is
tested them? Have you tested them?
Yeah, it was tested by several projects, but
Okay.
when the project is ended and the system died, sorry.
Ah, okay. So this means that this existed. It was done by
No,
program,
no, it
but then
was it was piloted in some region, some district. My view is about it is a national level.
okay. So it's interesting also to understand why these things are failing, and also to see what can we get from this. So let's go to the second slide, which is slide number 5. Um, so where did this experience take place? So we can say that this took place in Tajikistan.
Yeah.
So, and is it more in Dushanbe, or is it everywhere in the country?
Uh,
Is it in only capital city, or was it also in
no,
other?
in sub-region, in region level, so oblast
So it
region.
was in the capital and in the oblast.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what is interesting, because this is exactly what you said, is that several existed, but some are no longer alive, because when the project stopped,
Mm.
then the platform also stopped.
Yeah.
So would you be, so what is interesting, maybe we, and from when, still to reply to that question, so do you know more or less when this was done?
Uh, for example, under commercialization project, it was done 2 years ago.
Okay,
Uh,
2018.
two
Mhm.
years ago, in 1 year, it was functioning, and due to lack of the sustainability of project designing planning, after 1 year, I'd say this service was closed. And in 2007, it was done by myself when I managed one security project in one district. Uh, uh, I installed big board near to the two market. One, I would say, a central market, and another market which will be organized only weekends. And every week, we collected information prices uh, from the regional, from Dushanbe, and local market. It was reflected in this big board. After the finishing project, before the finishing the project, I would say hand over it to district district financial department, because they dealing with the price, etc. But it was not happening because they did probably 3 months, and after that nobody is monitored by ourselves. That's why the process was stopped.
Okay. So this is very interesting, because you are already documenting, you have enough information. Um, so actually you have more or less replied to what were the objective, and what, so what is interesting to know, maybe now, is to see how many of these market place, digital marketplace still exist. Do you know?
Mexico,
So what is your objective? Your objective is to document how this marketplace, market platform um, can work in Tajikistan, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you want to solve? Do you want to solve their, do you want to address the sustainability? Is that what you want to solve, or you want to solve something?
Sustainability and expanding the coverage.
Okay, so that's great, because then what you want to do is to improve what already exists, and on top you would like to scale it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that is sustainability and scaling up. Okay, the next question is about what was the context in which you worked, and you mentioned this a little bit above, because you mentioned that you had been working in a project, that you have been doing this in how many oblast was it?
Only one district in 2007, only one district.
Okay, so maybe in which context have you worked? We can add this now to the third question. And that platform is not working at all, or is it still working?
No, no, but it was, I would say, ended after 3 months of after project ended.
Mm-hmm.
But we have another platform, but it's mainly, I would say, focusing only for one region. And we have, as you know, we have another 3 regions, which could be, I would say, included or expanded the coverage. That's why it's currently it's easy only for farmers or private sector of one region, but 3 of them are looking and they need such kind of information in order to improve their progress, etc.
Okay, so Ibrahim, I have a suggestion, and the suggestion is for you to be able to document what you know. It will be to actually also look for the information on the other platform that exist,
Mm-hmm.
and so that we can compare them and we can analyze them and understand the criteria that make them more sustainable, because then we are able to work on the sustainability. Is this something which is possible?
Yeah, yeah. You know, in sometimes I'm thinking to have this one in governmental sector. I mean, Minister of Agriculture, because you know, uh, currently many local NGO is depend from the donor contribution or support. Yeah, and as you know, every project has project duration, and between one project and another project, uh, this exercise is became more weak because without salary, the local NGO staff also is not not working, and this service is not providing very well, and additionally mechanism also uh, not developed very well. For example, agriculture commercialization project introduced this approach. For example, if I need the information regarding to the cucumber, I have to deal, for example, code, yeah, 1, 2, 3, for example, and I will receive the information, and for this information, I will pay some symbolic price.
So we know for whom you do it, we know what you want to do it. And I was wondering, with whom would you be doing this exercise? Because I suppose you have to involve other stakeholders in the process in order to be able to document this practice. So, Ibrahim, tell me.
Under under Ministry of Agriculture, established one technical working group, which consists from governmental agencies and other private sector. And times to times, just now has been discussion in first stage to have quarterly basis meeting, and based on uh, and during that period will be shared experience, news, etc. But additionally, the main idea of this technical working groups, according to the uh, decree of Ministry of Agriculture, to prepare uh, program on the digitalization of agriculture.
Okay. So this is of also of interest because you wanted to do the TCP on digital agriculture, and I would like to know now um, if you still want to discuss this with me or whether SEC has involved someone else into
Yeah,
this.
from SEC was involved Frank, Frank from DIP department.
Yes.
Yeah, and just now still this project proposal under discussion, because you know, Ministry of Agriculture proposed to FAO for having a national investment plan as well, which mainly involved former TCIC department from HQ, and they would like to include some point, some element of e-agriculture also.
Okay.
That's why just now going conversation with Anara, Frank, and another guy from HQ.
Yes, Gerard Sylvester.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Uh, just now, after few days, will be finalized and will be discussed with FOR and operation unit of Tajikistan.
Okay, so that's good to know because I'm working with Frank and with Gerard in other projects
Mhm.
in Turkey. So we are already working in team. So it
Mhm.
will be nice that we continue this also in Tajikistan. And
Mhm.
as you can see, it is important to also look at what has been done in the past, uh,
Mhm.
what is being done now, and to
Mhm.
document these practices. So I'm doing a similar exercise in Turkey with them. So we can really do this, and what we have started together um, is a good start because in the discussion I had this morning with GR, we were actually also looking at some of the good practices that exist in Turkey and how they can be scaled up at the national level or even in the region. And what I'm going to propose in the second part of this meeting today uh, is, now you see, you know what you want to capitalize upon, you know why you want to do it, you know that you can count on the technical working group in the Ministry of Agriculture. And now it's to know, because this is also part of when you can start doing it. I suppose you can start doing it now, but how much time do you have? How much do you allocate yourself time to work on this experience? Is it something that you can do in the next 2 months, for example?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay, because this would be nice, because then
Yeah.
we can help you um, to do the whole process, and we will then have one documented practice on market access.
Mm.
And this will be an understanding of what was done in the past, to understand what works well
Mm.
and what didn't work so well. And if we are changing things, what are the things that have to be changed? And also to see how it works, not only in one district, but how could it work with other districts, or the other districts could be connected, so that it can be scaled up at the national level. Um, to do this, is it something that you can do without having specific funds?
Oh.
This, just documenting this practice here, this collection of information. This is something that you can do just
Yeah.
doing interviews and desk review.
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be very interesting for um, the work that is going to be done in Tajikistan. And who else is interested in digitalization sector in Tajikistan? Apart from the government, are the donors interested?
In order to get, yeah, donors are interested, but in order to have this uh, this for this exercise, I think we have to, first we have to have this is this national program on digitalization of agriculture, because this will consider several many aspects which could uh, 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 bring in one document, and according that already will be some roadmap as well, and based on that roadmap, say the donors could be support for several areas of this roadmap.
Okay, but I mean, do you have a specific country, specific donors interest that you already know? I don't know myself, so I'm just asking.
Yeah, the World Bank, Asian Development Bank,
Oh,
because yeah, they're pioneer for Tajikistan on, for example, to have uh, one window system in tax committee. That's why they they have interest for assist in that sector, agriculture sector.
so it's the World Bank and the EBRD, the European Bank of Regional Development?
No, ADB.
ADB, Asian Development Bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that is quite That's excellent to know. Okay. Um, yeah, there are many things happening now in Central Asia on digitization. Um, we also are in this COVID period. So, have you noticed any needs related due to COVID on digitalization in Tajikistan?
Yeah, and some of them, I would say, uh, demonstrated by us. Because, for example, training for the farmers. Due to pandemic, our staff could not travel to the areas.
Yes.
That's why we had small contract with the local NGOs in order to provide, for example, internet connection and uh, screen um, and
You mean train online?
projector. And through this method, our trainer conducted from Dushanbe, and it was organized in several regions.
Ah, and how did it go?
It was more, how to say, more cheaper and more safety as you for UN staff.
And also for farmers.
Yeah.
And so, how did it you? Because this is also interesting as a documentation practice. Due to the COVID, people had to be innovative, use new means of training. So, was this done in the field with mobile phone, or was it done in classroom with computer?
And yeah, classroom is projector.
Okay, so it was more a traditional type of training.
For last 3 4 months, yes.
And what were the subjects of these trainings?
It was growing of the crops, uh, IPM, integrated pest management,
Integrated pet.
uh,
Mhm. And
and
the pruning you said.
no.
Sorry?
Uh, the first one is crop growing,
Crop growing. Okay.
and integrated pest management.
Okay. And the fact that this was done in a classroom, it should have been done in the field or it was supposed to take place in the classroom?
No, but it was planned to have in classroom, but due to pandemic, our trainers and project staff could not travel to the field, and we organized online course.
Okay. And which platform have you used for this online course?
Uh, uh,
Was it the Zoom like we are doing
no,
now, or it was another
Skype,
one?
Skype.
So it was
Because
Zoom.
yeah, because I do not know in your case, but in our case, Zoom, uh, we have to pay for Zoom in order to have more time using of Zoom. But only our FOR paid, and he has such kind of, I would say, uh, obligation. Therefore, we used Skype.
Okay, so you were able to do it on Zoom and also on Skype.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the feedback of the participants, the trainees? How do they, what, what is the feedback you receive from them? Were they satisfied or were they frustrated? Uh,
Uh, in first session, I would say it's new one for them and for our trainer also. But uh, uh, but in the second training, they accepted. Uh, but they're also thinking to improve of technology because in our booklets it indicated, for example, uh, project brief information and contacts to have some question or something to advise, and they started to think on it, and uh, some of them, I'd say, informed that they would like to use Android because mostly farmers are using simple phone. But after having this exercise, they're saying, well, we have to change our phone to use, and maybe we can enter to such kind another platform to get information, etc. Uh,
So,
but uh,
mhm.
but it also depends from the geographical areas. In some areas, we had difficulty uh, to internet connection because some companies are working well, some companies are not working well. That's why it was some problem. Additionally, practical part of training was done, but it virtually it was done, but mainly they assisted, they participated in the process of practical part, but it was not done in this project.
Okay, that's quite also interesting. Um, Valentin, I have created a new slide so you can put the new text in the slide. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Um, so you see, Ibrahim, in here, discussing with you, we have already identified two experiences that can be capitalized upon. There is the work that you did in the past on market access. And what is interesting is to learn the lessons from the past and see with what exists today, what can be improved. And then this online training and the difficulties faced by farmers, but also the interest that they have in order to be trained even when the trainers cannot come, it's also something interesting to document. And what is also very interesting is that in the few words that where you were explaining, you have mentioned exactly the typical problems that we are facing regarding the rural digital divide, meaning that either whether it is the connectivity or the technology is available, whether people can afford it, whether they can access it with the right equipment, if they have a mobile phone, but or a smartphone or a computer, and then whether what is available is adapted, appropriate to their needs. So these are the typical A's that we have to pay attention of. And also, what is interesting is the solution should be sustainable. We have to look at systems, not on specific things. And for us, it's also important to involve everybody. It's the being participatory, focusing not specifically on the technology, but on the people, and to make impact, of course. So you see, just with these few examples, you are pinpointing issues that are quite typical in digital agriculture. So talking about, you were mentioning farmers, they had just a normal cellular phone, they didn't have a smartphone. How, talking about the challenges, how affordable is it for a Tajik farmer to buy a smartphone? How much does it represent um, from his monthly income, for example? Is this something that he can buy easily, or it's representing a huge amount of money?
No, probably for 120, 150 USD, you can have uh, uh,
An Android.
Android. Android, yeah.
Hmm. And this amount of money, 120, 150 US dollar, uh, how much does this represent compared to an average income of a farmer?
Mm. The farmers should, uh, you know, farmer depend from the harvesting, and currently, if you look to the government, to the country, the minimum salary is uh, I don't know, maybe 150 someone. Uh,
Okay, so actually you're telling me that to have access to a smartphone, this represents a month's salary of the average farmer income.
no,
So it's really a lot. So you have to think about, do I feed my family or do I buy a smartphone? Or are there ways to pay?
no, 10 months you have to work without eating.
And so there incentive from the government to invest in this new technology?
Only in the paper.
Uh-huh. On
Uh,
paper, yes, but in reality, no.
we have, for example, national programs. Yeah. For example, to improve the horticulture sector. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there is allocated some small amount. For example, maybe every year they will use maybe 10,000 USD dollar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For 5 years, only 50,000 USD dollar. But the government, through this national program, is involving support of donors and externals, private sector, uh, but based on this program to start to improve, to establish, to modernize of ports, for example. Because the government is poor, could not to provide, for example, enough funds for funding such kind of
Uh,
programs.
sorry to sorry to interrupt, but I guess our time
Yes,
is
I
up
think,
really.
yes, it's time for, and
Time
you
to.
set up the time in the breakout rooms, Valentin?
Uh, Not sure.
Ah, okay, because then we should maybe, can you go to, you can leave it on, huh? But can you go in the breakout rooms yourself and ask them to come back in plenary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, that is very interesting, Ibrahim. Thank you for sharing this knowledge with us. Okay, so how was your experience on extension?
Well, you guys have to say something.
A second, let's say, thing where we have looked at is, okay, why is this experience important? What do we want with this experience. So in order to give a good justification, why are you doing this capitalization? And we need, let's say, if we are able to clearly define what is the objective of the experience, then we are better able also to assess during the capitalization what went well, what was not so strong, could we learn. That is what I
Yes.
took from this. But maybe others in the group could add or amend.
I think that was a nice summary, but what do the others say?
I fully agree. Yes, I totally agree. And I think we also mentioned it last time. So it's something that really need to bear in mind in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
would say,
absolutely true from what was shared. And I think one key element was I got to emphasize is that however important the experience is, it is very important to focus to focus on some particular area, to focus on a smaller scope so that it is understandable and clearer and generating evidence and debate.
Yeah. And how was it in the other groups? Did you also discuss similar ideas?
Well, we had Ibrahim. So Ibrahim, we should listen from you. What do you get out of this, the chat, the discussion that we had together? Are you still with us, Ibrahim?
Yes, yes. I have a small problem with the internet connection, sometimes disconnecting from our conversation. Yeah, but you know, I learned some more specific area from this exercise because in some point I didn't think to do in more details and to analyze, for example, market information system more deeply. Just now during the our discussion, I think more deeply, and I learned how to which impact and or which effect could be provide, for example, to the farmer.
Mhm.
Yes, that's excellent. I think that you really did a nice summary. Make it smaller because it will be simpler to document. Anybody else would like to give some feedback? If not, in this
I
case, yes, Sophia.
yes, for me it was very inspirational because Jorge helped me to remind why I choose to capitalize this experience, and he like make me understand that the case which I was personally involved, like training people and how these people really benefited from that. So these real cases link me to the real consequences which can be brought to the other participants of the extension. So that's why I understood that it's very important to be narrow or linked to the real experience which you did yourself and which can be scaled up from this point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much. this is a nice intro also for what we are going to do next. So I will ask Valentin to share with us the PowerPoint, because what we are doing with you with these mentorship meetings is to really put into practice what has been learned during the course, and then to come up with a product. So we did this preparation phase, and now Jorge is going to guide us to the next phase, which is gather, organize, and analyze. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. There was a question in my group that already was pointing in this direction. No, we need to provide the details about the experience, and we need to start mentioning what did we do, what results did we see. So my answer was yes, we need to do this, but that comes only after we have identified what are we talking about. So the first thing we did was identify our experience. I'm going to be talking about this particular case, which I was involved or which I have some information. And once we have identified it and we know very clearly what are we going to be talking about, then we need to start looking about information, which is going to help me describe it. No, so if you remember, we saw on the webinar that you can collect information in many different ways. A lot of the information is already here. You have it in your head because you have been directly involved in this process. So you know it, you've been there, you remember all these things. But there is also a lot of information elsewhere, for example, in the heads of other people or in other documents which have been written. So you need to go and you need to look for that information. And then you organize and you do questionnaires and you do surveys and you go and read a lot of documents, or you go to the field and you observe what is it which is happening there. You collect a lot of information. And once you start collecting, you realize that you have a lot of ideas. You need to organize it because otherwise it's very easy to get lost. So one way of organizing it is to put a timeline and to say, this happened 3 years ago, this happened 2 years ago, this happened 1 year ago, or this happened 2 weeks ago. And if you start putting it in order, then it becomes easier to, well, easier to understand it, easier to play it, easier to complete it. Sometimes we don't do timelines, but we do questionnaires. Not like you have just been filling a questionnaire, but putting answers to questions. And in that way, it also becomes easier to organize, to see what do we have and to see what we don't have. And then we go and we look for it. The thing is, why do we need to do all of this? Because what we want is a description of the experience. And that is what Joop was asking. We need to describe it. And describing means we need to say what happened and what were the results. So this is a moment when you start telling me, if you are describing the work that you were doing with a group of farmers, this is the moment in which you start telling me, I did this, I did that. I organized a training workshop. I organized a visit. I brought farmers from one village to the other. I developed training materials, etc., etc. And at the same time, oh, sorry.
And we can move to the next slide, Valentin, because
Yeah.
what Jorge is explaining is in the next slide, yes?
Exactly. And then at the same time, you start telling me the results. So not just what you did, but also what you achieved. So you got a lot of results, which means if you were training farmers, well, you can tell me that the farmers developed new skills or that the farmers started doing something different. But now we come with a little problem, which is that it is crucial that you describe everything that you did and everything that you achieved. But at the same time, you must not only do the description, you must also analyze it. Because a description, to put it very bluntly, is boring. A description, by just saying, oh, I did this, oh, I achieved that. Actually, it is not telling us very many new things. So we need to try to go deeper and to try to analyze it, which means that we need to try to understand it. We need to try to know if it was good or if it was bad. And we need to try to understand why was it good. So it is not just telling me I trained so many farmers and so many farmers are now growing potatoes. No, that is a bit boring. I need to know what worked. Why is it that farmers are following your advice? Why is it that farmers are, some of them are not following your advice? Why is it that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work? So as it says here on the slide, we need to try to discover the reasons that led to change. And in that way, we can show and demonstrate that our work was good. And we can, on the basis of that, identify the lessons, which are really the interesting thing that we want to share with our process. If we go to the next slide, you will see that basically with the analysis, what we're doing is trying to understand. On the basis of what happened, we need to see, so what does it mean? How come? And therefore, we can come with recommendations much easier, which will probably mean that if you have done something which is good, if you know why it was good, then you can say, okay, I'm going to repeat it, or I'm going to duplicate it, or I'm going to improve it. But in order to come with that recommendation, you really need to understand why is it that it was good, or why is it that some things were not very good. Yes, so this is, let's say, the next part of the process. So this is what I would, or we would like you to start trying next. On the basis of your experience, what you have already chosen, you need to start answering new questions. And then you have these tools on the next slide, which you have already seen before, which is basically, once again, organizing the information and just trying to say, okay, what did I do? What were the outcomes? What were the difficulties? That is the description. And then on the analysis, I want you to say if it was good or bad. And in order to be able to do that, you need to identify a few criteria which help you say it was good or bad. It was good, let's say, in terms of the number of people that were involved, or in terms of the participation. So if you select these criteria, remember we discussed this before, if you select a few criteria, then it becomes much easier to say, yeah, it was very good, and it was good because of this, or it was bad because of that. Helping ourselves give an opinion, and helping ourselves, not just ourselves, but everybody who's involved in the process, be able to judge. And by judging, being able to come with recommendations and suggestions, or drawing lessons which are concrete from this particular process. Yes? So this is what comes next. So now it becomes easier because you already have your experience a bit more detailed. Yes, back to you, Sophie.
Yes, thank you very much. So these are the next steps. And so I would like to get some feeling from the people who are here with us today, and to see how much were you able to prepare yourself for today's webinars, and then how do you feel to continue and to have another webinar, which will be then on these steps. So I would like to just have a little feedback from the participants. We don't hear you, Wengli.
Say I want to continue. Yes, I want to, like, with the group, that we can get something done.
Okay, and in the experiences that you started documenting, is there anything that you believe would be useful for, because you remember what we are trying to do is by September to have a few cases that would be documented and that we can share with a wider constituencies, because we will have a GFRAS annual meeting, and it would be nice that we can show some of the results of these things. And as you were the largest group was on extension, and so I'm very pleased of that. Yes, indeed, it would be interesting to have some documentation. So are there a few examples that you believe that we could pursue together to have something done by September? Yes, it's a yes. And so can we maybe put in the chat what would be the few cases that we could have ready for September?
I think we have 4 cases in my group, at least 4, isn't it? Wengxiu and Prudence, Yup, Sophia, that is 4. The 4 of you are going to continue, aren't you?
Trying to, yes. Let's say, I think there's a time constraint, but we'll see what it, because, yeah.
But we can also provide support.
Yes, of course, sir. We will continue.
Good. Nice to hear. And what about Natalia?
I try, but I have I've been vacation, but I'll try also to do something. Good example, okay?
Yes.
Okay. And just to know, if we meet in a few weeks' time, how much time do you need? Would you need 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
To work this out with the whole group. That's what you say.
Sorry, I couldn't. So Jorge is trying to have you come back in 2 weeks' time with your gather, organize, and analyze. Is this feasible?
For me, it would be very challenging, yes.
Okay.
3, okay.
No, necessarily, because let's say I still have to start up the whole thing, so.
Yeah, and for Ibrahim, Sophia?
Yes, okay, I will try. In 3 weeks, please, Jorge,
Okay.
not 2.
Okay, okay.
I'll try also in 3 weeks.
All right.
Okay, so that's okay. So what we will do, we are going to put anyway the recording of this webinar online, because even so, not everybody was able to join. I still hope that some people will be curious enough to actually watch the webinar to understand what is the process, and maybe to have them joining even when the process has already started, because what is interesting is to learn by doing and from hearing the other. And what we are doing, it's kind of peer assist, so we can ask each other questions. And when you enter into a dialogue, so automatically there are more things that are coming out. You didn't even think about it. You're telling plenty of things that you would not have written if you were asked to write something. But entering into the dialogue, then there are more things coming up of your head. And also it's nice because this enables you to go back also to the others who were part of the experience, not only you, and to have their perspective, because it's also important to compare the different opinions, the different point of view, because there is not one which is better or righter than the other one. They are just different perspectives. And it is nice also to reflect these different perspectives in the work that you have been doing, because it's also important to take into account the perspective of the others for the future. So this is why, you know, the 6 thinking hat of De Bono, which is one of the tools that we are proposing, is enabling to also have this different perspective. So I invite you to go back to the tools that we provided in the module on analysis, because they are quite good. Okay, so I'm very pleased that we were able to meet in a smaller group and to achieve something. Of course, we will, if you all agree, we are going to share the link of what we have done together on the forum, on the mentorship, and we will put it under the thread. So the people who have been working on extension, we will put it in the thread on extension. The people who worked on digitalization, we will put this under digitalization. And Natalia, if you agree what was written in Russian, then we will put it in the Russian chat, which is only one, so everybody can have access. And maybe this will give some energy to others to also do the exercise. So with this, I would like...
One
Yes?
second, Sophie, one thing. We agreed to meet in 3 weeks, but that doesn't mean that we will only talk again in 3 weeks. If you have any question, if you want to share any progress you have done, please send it on the email or put it on the chat on the platform. You can always contact all of us, I think. And if you have a question or if there is any issue that you would like to discuss. Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, indeed. The chat, the forum discussion is really where we can engage, and we should continue to do so. Also because I've seen that some people were starting a discussion, but then they were not able to join. So we should continue that indeed in the forum. Okay, so I would like to thank Olga, Daria, Valentin, of course, Jorge, for making this possible, and also all of you who are going to carry an experience, because we really would like to document them. And I know that Wengchu has plenty of good practices that she started documenting, and you know, we can use these as a way to go and finalize and check all what you have prepared, because this is quite interesting, even if it's not specifically on extension, but it's on small orders. And I think it will be excellent to have that work also finalized and being able to be published. Okay, so I wish you all a good afternoon. And I will just ask the team maybe to remain just a few more minutes so we can have a little debriefing and after action review. So thank you very much to all of you. It's a pleasure to see you excited and always present at the appointments. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.